Alrighty guys, welcome back to episode 2 of 3, possibly 4, of the Roll Gates. Today's episode Hi, I'm Cel. That's Miko. Hi, how are you? We do this every week, I swear.
Good, how are you?
Doing
Still the
well.
same.
In my defense, we've been talking the same hour and a half, so please excuse me for forgetting that I hadn't already introduced you. But I have.
Totally fair. We've done it once before today. So just check out that episode, everyone, if you haven't.
Yeah, start there unless everything today may be a bit confusing. Because in today's episode, we're narrowing down on a very specific aspect of the larger scope of the roll gates. Today we're looking at the individual roll gates, and these are the gates that carry the pulse, like, of personal intimacy, creative expression, and behavioral alignment. We're talking about gates 10 and gate 1, and they are interconnected, / we kind of have to talk about them together. We'll explain more about that in a sec. But unlike the tribal gates that seek connection through bonding, or collective gates that hold space for shared experiences, like we talked about in the last episode, the individual roll gates speak specifically to the uniqueness of thyself, or yourself, or oneself. These are the gates of those who love differently, behave differently, and express sexuality not as a shared norm, but as an individual truth. So we're going to look at how Gate 10 teaches us about the self-love and behavior in sexual contact, and how Gate 1 invites us to express creative intimacy that is completely original. And we'll explore again how each profile line translates these gates into their unique archetypes, from the line 1 to the line 6. And remember, please keep in mind your specific profile when we're going through all of this. As Miko mentioned in the last episode, if you have these gates defined in your chart, dope. Look at the line numbers there, but then also reference your profile and view these gates through that lens as well. So let's hop in.
Thank you for the introduction. We are going to first look at Gate 10, and yes, Celestine, I mentioned it, we're kind of going to intermingle those two because it makes sense to take the internalization into consideration and then also add how you can express this unique potential that lies within you. So Gate 10 is known as treading on the tail of the tiger. That's what it's called, which is very vague in my opinion. And Gate 1 is called the creative. Gate 10, what you can see and what you will recognize when we're going through it, is actually describing the profile lines. So we're going to be describing the profiles, and this is kind of where it comes from. So Gate 10 has as line 1 the investigator. Everyone that has already watched our episode on the profiles will know what these are about. We're going to repeat them, maybe not in as much detail as we did in that episode. So do check it out if you would like to know more about the profiles. But here we talk about the investigator and line 1, who really needs to have a solid foundation whenever it starts to externalize something. So there are 2 elements to this. First, you need to create the foundation for you to feel right, because when you are looking out into the world, the good analogy for this would be that you feel like the world is built on sand, so it's not stable, and you need to figure out how you can cement the world. So figure out what you need to feel safe, what you need to feel like you have a solid foundation, and practice patience. Because the only way you're going to be able to externalize what it is you've investigated and dug deep into is going to be through the right timing. And this is where we come to Gate 1, the externalization, how you get to express your unique potential or your unique individual creativity. This is going to be through timing. Really learn to work with your strategy and your inner authority, because timing cannot be forced. There is nothing you can do about it. You really need to figure out when is the right time to share your foundation, and then all the investigation and all the foundation building is going to have a sense. It's going to make sense to you, and it's going to really be appreciated by others as well. The second line, the hermit, that is about someone who has a hidden talent or a gift, or multiple talents and multiple gifts, but they need to be called out. So those are the ones that we describe when we're talking about a house. You have the first line that has the foundation of the house. Then we have the second line, which is standing inside the house, lights on, painting their painting, but they cannot see outside. However, everyone else can see inside, and they can observe them and watch them. And when someone outside recognizes their talent and asks them to come out and paint a picture for them, that's when the second line can actually step into action. So the second line has natural barriers that protect themselves and their gifts and their talents. And they really need to figure out what call is the right call for them. Which one is going to make them feel good about actually sharing their gifts and talents with others. In order to do that, the second line needs to find pleasure and beauty in this externalization. And this made so much sense to me. How do you feel about this? Do you feel like, as a second line, sharing comes easy to you? Or, I mean, I know it doesn't, but please explain this to the audience. When connected in beauty and pleasure as well.
Yeah, no, it doesn't come easily. I was thinking about, so random, but I was thinking about like softball, like being called out into a position to like play as a kid. How would I have known that I was like good at this sport, you know? But like I ended up playing one of the most challenging positions on the field at like 10, like shortstop and second. Like those are hard positions, you know? But someone else saw it in me. It's not like I was like trying to be shortstop in it. So that's the being called out piece that I didn't recognize. I still don't understand the beauty piece of it. Can you illuminate that a bit more for me?
So it feels like, to me, when I was reading this, it was about you're not going to feel like sharing anything when you don't feel the beauty behind it. And when you feel like the people that are going to take it in or look at it are not going to be able to see that beauty. So for me, it can be when you're playing on the field, once you've been invited out, you feel like, okay, I can actually do it. I feel like I can do it, or you feel like you're going to provide a nice performance for them. When it's about sharing your work or our podcast, for example, we're not going to produce an episode where we feel like it's first of all not going to attract people because it's useful information. So this is a beautiful thing that I feel like we're doing, because we're giving people the ability to take this knowledge and apply it for themselves, for them to become an even more beautiful being than they already are, or to express their true potential that lies within them. So to create something that has value and beauty for life. This is when I feel I want to give this. I feel, yeah, I can follow that call. And if someone is inviting me to work on a gold mine or something, I wouldn't be able to do that because I don't feel like it's a nice thing to do. Or yes, gold can be beautiful, but the whole scenario behind it of how hard these people are working and how unhealthy these environments are, I don't see beauty in that. And I feel like this is actually the opposite. So I can't do anything that I don't feel is beautiful in.
Okay, that's a really good description of it now. I have like a couple of scenarios that have made more sense. For me, it really does come down to like when I was working with dietitians, if I was explaining something to them about like the benefits of collaboration or like the benefits of them exploring their human design before they can take those next steps in their businesses, that like when I felt safe and secure in the moment and someone was asking me questions about it, I think me expressing it would then inherently show the beauty and like my passion for it. And then that would get the next person stoked on it. It needs to be the right timing through all of it, right? Like it needs to be like the right place, the right time, the right call out, like you said. Because there have been times where I don't feel called out and I'll overshare. And that's interesting, right? Because even being a manifester, not being called out and then oversharing, like it still sometimes doesn't come through on the other end. Or having been on other people's podcasts when they're like, oh, tell me a bit about yourself, which is such a vague, stupid question. That doesn't give me the prompt to give people enough about me. And I find that rather than taking advantage of that situation, I usually keep it to like 3 sentences. I know that those are very specific examples, but yes, if there's not more to it, and I guess beauty, I was just reading into that word a little bit too much, but if there's not more to it, if I don't see the reasoning behind it, I'm not going to answer, or I'm not going to like fully embrace the call out.
Yeah, that does make sense. And it's not just beauty, it's also pleasure. So I feel like what you've described are things that bring you joy and pleasure as well, when you're able to share or when the right questions are asked for you to answer, not just vague. Yeah, for me, beauty, I think, is very connected to the heart, what touches the heart of people. And art, it's very emotional, it's very touching. Beauty is very touching. I just feel like anything, it doesn't have to be art, it doesn't have to look beautiful, but it has to feel beautiful. So the third line, we have the martyr. And this is someone where, yes, life bumps into you and you have this trial and error process. So this is always going to be the same, or this underlying theme where you have to try things out for yourself. And a lot of times if you tell the third line, oh, if you do that, this is going to happen. Don't do that. Like, for example, don't touch the candle flame, it's hot. The third line, and potentially also the 6th line in the first 30 years of their life, is going to touch that flame because they need to figure this out for themselves. They need to be like, hey, okay, you're telling me this, but I don't know if it's going to be the same for me as it is for you. So I need to figure this out on my own. I need to try this for myself. The thing about the third line, though, so this is the internalization process. The externalization of all of that is that in order to express what you've learned from this whole experimental process, you need to pay a price. And that's the challenge about all of this. Because when you are in your not self situation, you're going to pay a material price. But if you're in the self, in the right alignment of this line, you're going to pay the price of losing your individuality, quote unquote, losing it. So basically you're merging with the other, you're becoming part of the other, you're connecting with the other, and you're becoming bound together to something or someone else. And you're not this individual, which is very ironic because we're talking about individual role gates. But by doing this process and by sharing it, you're merging your experiences with another person. But let's take an example of you investing into something without following your strategy and inner authority, so not entering into it correctly, and also by just doing things for the wrong reasons out of your not self behavior. When you are investing into something without following the right strategy and authority in this example, it could very well be that you're going to lose everything. And the material loss is what we're talking about here, which is going to be the price that you pay. But if you pay the price of merging, it's going to be a beautiful experience. It is not a material loss. It is a loss of the ego, I would say.
It's so interesting that it's like a this for that kind of transactional with the 3 line. Because I always just thought of like them sharing their experiences as part of the journey, not necessarily a price you have to pay, a connection with someone else on that thing that they learned. It's just an interesting way of exploring this topic.
Yeah. I also never really thought about how to externalize or what you need in order to externalize.
3 lines out there, if you could explain this to us a bit more and how this has showed up in your life, I would love to know. Just because I only really have 1 3 that I'm close to, and I'm trying to think of scenarios that she's shared because she's been very vocal about sharing her human design journey. But yeah, I'd love some insights from the 3 lines out there, so hit us up in the comments if you've experienced this or now that we've discussed this, if you can recall a time when you have experienced this. Please share. Alrighty guys, on to line 4, the Opportunist. Again, human design and the naming of things. We've discussed this before. I don't love the verbiage here, but the Opportunist, the networker, the person who needs that tribe behind them, even though we're talking about the individual role gates, you need your peeps, you need your network, and your network is going to help provide you with those opportunities. The people that you know are going to introduce you to other people for you to know. Being your own person in your network is still really important. Too much integration with that network diminishes your power. So yes, having your people around you that can be sounding boards, but still listening to that internal guide is going to be super, super important. The gate 1 equivalent to the Opportunist is tension. So this is the externalization of the Opportunist in this gate. And the main essence of this is aloneness as a medium of creativity. It's really important to develop your influence alone and not do so through others, to stand alone within that network. And it's this tension that exists between maintaining that network while also waiting for an opportunity. It's this delicate dichotomy. It's also a matter of appearing social and also remaining separate to keep that personal power that we were talking about within the gate 10 aspect of this. It really just is this tension between being social, being an individual, and finding that balance that works specifically for you, and also the amount of tension that is necessary still to bring all of these possibilities to the surface. It feels very, not vague and wishy-washy, but you guys can take it how you will. Again, I would love to hear a 4 lines take on this, because I have 4 lines in my mind that I'm thinking of through all of this, but it would be really helpful to hear it from the 4 lines out there, how this feels and if this resonates with you. Miko, thoughts?
Yeah, I find the 4th line also very intriguing because it is this, as you've described, it is this separateness within a network. And I feel like on one hand, the tension that is coming through here is that they have to be a certain way towards their network. But on the other hand, they do have a bit of a hermit quality to them. So they just don't want to continuously be peopling, as you call it. And they do need their separateness. So they don't want to merge with their network. They don't want to become a collective dynamic, I would say, where you just get lost in the crowd. They still want to stick out as an individual. I feel like it's a bit like maybe king would be a good description, where you have your people, but you're still apart from them. And I feel like this tension is also created because you do have a sense of responsibility. You do have a sense of the way that you show yourself and the way that you need to appear to the world and to your people, with still feeling alone, even though you have a network. So I feel like this is kind of the tension that I'm getting from, which helps you to create as long as you embrace that tension rather than trying to eliminate it.
So interesting, so complex.
Yeah.
As with most things in human design.
Yes. There's always this binary in human design. And we will get to this more in the next episode, where we really have these 2 sides, even to the internalization process or externalization process. So I feel like it's really important to not use your mind when using this, because everything is going to fall into place. And when we're explaining all of this and you're going to be like, okay, but I'm a 4th line, or I'm a 6th line, or I'm whatever line, the mind likes to latch onto these things and be like, okay, then I have to behave this way. I have to be, no, you don't. No. Just follow the mechanics and everything will fall into place. It's your natural way of being that we're trying to describe here.
Don't think too much. Long story long.
Turn
Don't
off
think too much. Okay. Line 5, the Heretic. So, again, verbiage, human design, verbiage. Think of this as you have the potential to replace old systems with some really cool new perspectives. And it's going to require a decent amount of internal stamina to be able to externalize this effectively. And we'll circle back to stamina momentarily. But It's also really important for that 5 line to stay with your processes even if you're uncertain in them, right? Like if you've felt a pull, if you've felt anything that is drawing you towards the thing that you're doing, stick with it. Carrying on that energy will also attract others when it's correct. So the stamina piece of this, the externalization of this, it requires persistence to be able to externalize effectively. Remember, if you guys are looking at the trigram, the 5 line, think of it as the second story of the house, and you're in a window where it's blacked out from the outside, right? So it's the opposite of the 2, where you could look out, but people looking in, it can feel a bit vague, it can feel a bit masked. Think of it as like having tinted windows on a car, but on the second story of a building, so even more challenging to see, right? But if you're going to externalize the stamina, this energy, it needs to attract others correctly. They can't necessarily see in, right? They're just feeling this. It's also really important for the 5 line to continue on, even with the potential of rejection or a misunderstanding through all of this. Maintaining that power in that position is going to be extremely important as well. And I feel like as a manifester, like just thinking through if I were a 5 line or the 5 lines that I know, right? Like that can be extremely challenging to keep at it, to have faith and trust in that your truth is your truth, and you have to keep reinforcing it, right? To keep informing in a manifestor's case. I know feels very challenging, right? So this 5 line, having the stamina to continue to push through and externalize what you want to create is so important. So think of this like the general from the collective role that we discussed in the last episode. You gotta be prepared for the long haul in all of this. And this line, this expression of this line has the power to call out others, but it needs to be done in a correct way, and it also needs to be done persistently, having the stamina to pull through for the long term. Have I said stamina enough? I feel like I haven't. Stamina.
You just want to get to the sex gates already, don't you?
You gotta have stamina for that too.
Definitely. Yeah, that again also made so much sense to me when I heard this, because the 5th lines that I know, they do have so much stamina. It's just, wow, it's impressive. And I also feel like sometimes we may have a tendency, if we're not a 5th line, to be like, okay, just relax. Like, you don't have to keep going. But a lot of times they do. And that's their natural way of being, to keep going until their message has come across. Ra gave an example that is, I kind of like it, but not entirely. But I'm just going to share it because I think it's going to give a bit of a better perspective on how the 5th line operates. So he gave an example of a farmer working out in the land, and just, you have to wake up every day. You have to work on your fields or animals or whatever it is that you're farming. And you will get up, do the work every day. You have this stamina. You keep going. And at some point, this will be recognized, but it also has to be externalized through this. So you start to work, you do all the work, and at some point you can go out and you can talk about it and you can share it with the world. But you've had to build up this stamina first. You've had to put all the work into first, and you have to continue doing the work, even when you go out talking about it, even when you go out sharing about it. And then people are going to come and buy your crops, buy your produce, and you still have to keep going. You just have to keep going every single day. And a farmer is a really good example of a 5th line in that sense, because it's just a relentless job. It's so much work, and I can say that because my cousin had married a farmer, and I firsthand experienced this life for a month or so, and waking up every morning at 4 a.m. to walk the sheep and then milk the sheep and do that several times a day. And it's just so much work, and it never, ever stops. There's you will never finish a day and be like, okay, I did everything. No, there's always something. So yeah, farmer, fifth line, stamina. I feel like that makes sense. But yeah, you also have to then at some point go out and share.
It's interesting, you saying that reminded me of the fifth line dietitians that I know, or any like fifth line like entrepreneur that has like an online business where they're selling courses or programs or something along those lines. All of the fifth lines that I know created something before they sold it rather than like as they were, right? Like they created a multitude of different programs and now that's all like content that they continue to sell. And there are two fifth lines, like five lines that I like have in my mind, and they're doing things a little bit differently, but their basic structure of their businesses is like get all of this set up, all of this out of the way, and now just continue to power through. One of them has hired someone else, but the other one is just continuing to do it. Get it, five lines. Get it.
We're here with our only defined energy center, the heart, and we're like, oh, I don't even know how you.
Dude, I don't know.
Just imagine a fifth line mental projector.
How?
Or fifth line reflector. But yeah, fifth line mental projector.
God.
If you're one of those, please tell us your experience.
Just how? How do you? How?
They're probably studying all day.
Maybe. Just nothing is ever externalized. Is there just no stamina ever? You're just in your head all the time? I just don't understand it.
No, they're probably studying all day. That's their stamina, like learning and taking in, and then at some point, if they are called out or if they are invited to like share, that's when it gets to come out. But they will continue studying.
Okay, well, the 5-line mental projectors out there, please hit us up because we want to know about that too. Just everyone. Write your experiences in the comments, please. We'd love to learn. Wild. Alrighty, guys. Last but certainly, again, not least, I'm pretty sure I said this in the last episode too. The 6th line is the role model. And this is both our shared experiences, mine and Miko's. So if we talk a little bit more about this, that's why. The role model is broken down into 3 phases. So 0 through 30, the trial and error as a 3rd line phase, the 30 through 50-ish on the roof phase, and the post-Chiron return phase of like wise owl vibes. This line is going to insinuate having a lot of pressure to be visible and to set an example for others around them, hence the role model aspect of it. The role model is the internalization of it. The externalization in gate 1 is having a perspective, so needing both an objective and a subjective view of something to be visible, but then to also be effective. And going through these multiple phases in one's life can help you garner that perspective, that 0 through 30, really giving you the 3rd line perspective of the martyr and what the price to pay is. And then that's when you're on the roof, giving you that different perspective. And I've explained it here before of having this conversation like here, right in front of me, but also seeing it from up here and just having a different perspective on it. Oh my God, Miko, all of this is just... I just had a timber moment.
Tell us about it.
The externalization is the on the roof piece of it. Bro, and it wasn't possible during the 0 through 30 part of it. Oh my God. Guys, this is real time. I swear to God, I'm not making this up. This is literally just the moment I just had. Wow.
Tell us more.
Whew. Okay, cool. Yeah. Whoa. Woo. Yeah, so I think having this perspective, right? Having the externalization of the role model piece of it as now being in this 2nd phase of the 6 is really allowing me to see all of these different perspectives during the life phases, but also remember how when we were having the conversation about the 3 line, not understanding the price, but now I understand the price. Whoa. Okay. Sorry guys, this is very meta. Miko, what are your thoughts here? Because I'm just having a moment.
The important thing about the sixth line is that you can only step into being a role model once you have worked on yourself and once you have acquired all the lessons you're here to learn. So understanding it from the first-hand perspective of the third line of the up to your first Saturn return, understanding it from the perspective part of looking at everyone else and their experiences, and then coming off of the roof. And if you did your work, then you can be a role model. Then you will be recognized for all that you've learned. Then you will be recognized for your wisdom. If you haven't done the work, if you haven't really sat on the roof and did some introspection about your first third line period up to your 30s, and if you haven't done the work of also looking at everyone else and their behavior and then comparing, contrasting it to your own, you won't be able to step off the roof as a wise owl. That's what I feel. And that's where, yes, the perspective part plays such a huge role, that if you haven't, and that's what I mean with the introspection, if you haven't done the work of really understanding what your behavior and what the behavior of others means and where it comes from, then you're not able to share it.
What I'm seeing between this and the third line that I was kind of thinking of when we were talking about the third line is this really breaks down to values and understanding what your personal values are through trial and error, through your lived experiences, and then also through the perspectives that you're gaining looking at others, and then bringing that back in through your lens and being like, is that something that I align with? If so, cool. If not, let it go and have that learning lesson from it. That's what I'm like harking back to as you're saying all of this, and just like recalling different points over the last year of reassessing the values that I have in comparison to others that I've been around. So interesting.
Yeah, I agree with the value statement. It really is interesting how much I have changed, my perspective has changed throughout the last 37 years. I think this would not have been possible without all the self-reflection or the reflection of my actions, but also of the actions of others and how I interpret it, because it's another really important part. We all do wear different colored glasses. So even Celestina and I, while we're a 6'2" profile, our human designs are very different and our perspective is different because she's right-facing, I'm left-facing. And additionally to that, the perspective and the view is different. So it's always a really interesting point to make that the way that you reflect upon the world or do your introspections, the things that you've gone through are of course different, but also how you interpret the things that you go through and the things that you observe is going to be different. And that for me is such a, I don't know, it blows my mind, because even if we were going through exactly the same things with our different types of human design, of our perspective and view of the world, we would still see it differently. So even if our entire human design chart would be identical, except for view and perspective, we would still view the world differently. We would still pick up on different things. So that's why it's so important to recognize your uniqueness and your value to this world, because no one is going to see it. First, no one is going to have the same experiences as you, and no one is going to be able to interpret them the way that you do. No one is going to be able to share the wisdom that you have inside of you the way that you do.
And on that note, you are an individual little snowflake, and you are you. And your external world also makes you you, right? So, multifactorial. Alrighty, guys.
Individual
well, thank you for joining us on it.
Individual little snowflake was just so cute. Oh my god.
I haven't seen snow in like 2.5 years. So, I think snowflakes are still all different.
Unique.
Right? That probably hasn't changed. Alright, guys. Well, thank you for joining us for episode 2 of possibly 4. the individual role gates. Join us next week when we're going to be talking about the tribal role gates. If you haven't already and you like our podcast, hit subscribe, hit follow, give a thumbs up, whatever the other things that you can do to interact with the podcast. Leave a comment, tell us a little bit about your take on this, and if you have any other insights that we asked for throughout the episode, please go ahead and do that below. And see you next time.
Bye, everyone. Hardcore, the Human Design Podcast. The third line is the martyr. I always have a difficulty saying this word.
Martyr.
Martyr. Because in German it's Märtyrer. That's why I always have a difficult...
Too many letters.
Yeah. So, the martyr.
Say it like an American, the martyr.
Oh my god. Sometimes you bring out this super, I don't even know, Californian accent like this.
Yeah. I mean, I was like super close to LA living in Vegas, so
That's true.
it just comes natural now, you know? It's fine.
Doesn't match your face. I just can't. I can't merge these two things together.
Alrighty, on to line 4, the opportunist. I said tootitist. God damn it.
Tutti fruity.